Hi, this is Melissa Vasquez with MPA 594. This week's presentation, Theory to Practice. I'm going to talk to you a specific scenario and what concepts I would use to change this scenario using the theories that we have learned. And as administrators, what I have chosen is regulations. So as administrators, we are in charge of seeing through that regulations are implemented. So we build a team, we provide training on the regulations, we provide expectations, and we send staff to the field. So one example is, for instance, Prop 12, in which it changed the enclosure requirements for farm animals. And the task was to develop a program of how we were going to see these regulations carry through. So before building a team, one approach is to change the way we see our mindset of management, and then the decisions we make, whether it's management or field staff, and then I would finally come back to applying these things and then finally applying to them through efficiency. So before building an inspectional program, one approach is to change our mindset, the way we build a team through management. And what I mean by a change in mindset is that, for instance, in Weber's bureaucracy, in order to maximize efficiency, we develop a hierarchy, reporting to a direct supervisor, establishing this chain of command, and we develop these strict rules that we adhere by. We get people who are specialized in training, and then we finally execute. And what we commonly see is actually, uh, well, when we look into Merton's theory, we start learning about some of the downfalls of bureaucracy when it is being managed in Weber's method of bureaucracy, and it warns us of the dangers of occupational psychosis. Some of us can become so fixed in implementing rules and regulations to the letter that we forget the intent of the regulations, and this leads us to become very rigid, and enables disable us from adjusting to changing situations. And additionally, there is the concept of training capacity, which is another pitfall in which we train ourselves and our people on how to do the jobs based on the previous skills that we learned, whether we learned the skills of how to do the inspections or what we saw as a program before we came in, and that's how we're implementing it. And sometimes these skills are no longer relevant to this specific situation and no longer work. So, but for some reason, we keep doing it just because that's the way it's always been done. And keeping in mind these pitfalls, the next thing that I would say needs to change is the manner as we administrators and field staff make decisions. Although I do feel like it is true that we cannot reinvent the wheel because time is luxury as an administrator. And so we come back to Lindblom's theory of the science of muddling, in which the way we do implementation, we do it in a manner that's incremental, and unless there's like emergency situations, we don't make these sudden changes, new rules, or build something huge out of nothing. We basically, what we do is take what we know and we begin to add to it. But what I think is important before we add anything, or before we even take any form of program that's already existing or philosophy that's already existing, is to determine what needs to be changed before we start adding the parts to an equation. And I think this is what carries us through to the next point, in which for Simon Herbert, he states that as we build a program, as we come and build our team, as we manage, as we make these decisions, it is important to scientifically uh, come up with a description of definitions of our organization. So why do we do what we do, first of all? And this should be the leading question, which defines our values, our philosophies, the way that we carry these values within, so that we can start letting this force influence us and decide on what we must do, whether we're at the field level or at the management level, so that we start to begin looking at things from a different perspective, not just following regulations to the T, but more as to what is the intent here. And finally, another thing that Simon mentions in his theory is, did we accomplish what we were meant to do? And this is done through a process of verification, through evaluation, or as he states it, through empirical research to show that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And finally, this is when I come back to efficiency. So after we've done all this, after we identify the pitfalls, it is still important to have a structure. And why is it important to have a structure? Well, it's important to have standardized procedures so that everyone across the board is doing it the same way. That it's not going to change from one locality to another. But at the heart of it, at the heart is what we are meant to do, not based on what is said in wording. No, it is about what we're said, what we're meant to do at the heart of it. And this is done, by writing inspectional procedures, or just developing consistency for whether whether it's different people who do it, or it's a different time or place. And finally, having that specialized knowledge, it is important. But again, going back to the concept of what are we doing? What is it that we're meant to do? So, in conclusion, when building an inspectional program, the way I would make things, rather than just getting the regulations, training people, and get out in the field and do it, it would be a matter of seeing what our mindset is and changing that mindset, so that we don't follow things through just because that's the way they're written, and changing the way we make decisions, so that at every level we still have the same goal, and finally coming down to making our program as efficient as possible by writing these procedures, but at the heart of it, having a complete understanding of what it is, the reason why we do the things we do. Thank you for watching. Any comments, questions, they're greatly appreciated. Thank you.